Now the next part of our project is one of the little things that I call the little details that make a difference. Now in this case, Luciano had gotten me this gas cap. I'm not so sure where. This is a Chinese knockoff. I think they're about 25 bucks. This is for the R1, but yeah, that's really nice, and it's anodized and everything. And what's handy is you don't have to take the key out of the ignition to put gas in. What I had on the RD, I was unable to find a cap, and it was so pitted that I did it up with this, like a wrinkle finish paint, which Luciano hates. But if somebody ever comes across one that's perfectly chromed or black chrome, that would be nice. Point is, whenever I'm hurting for an idea, I want to do Glenn's gas cap. And Luciano got me that one too, I think. And then this is what they usually look like on a modern bike, but not so sure I like that, where it's one color on the outside and then a circle. And again, this is just some of these little details, and on a GS, of course, just a shiny black cap. But I have to make a decision here because I want to go down. I have some time here. And by the way, these bolts, the gold bolts, which a lot of people thought were, that was $3 for those bolts. And free shipping. I don't know how they can do stuff like that. Anyway, I should have bought 100 of them at the time. I got them on the windshield. I got them on here. Got them on all over the FZR. What I call that is little details. I also want to look at some of the graphics because I got to start laying out the graphics for Glenn's paint job today. Now this is just one of the good little tips that I've learned. Whenever you take a bike apart, now I don't take no two bikes are the same for me. Every restoration we do is different. I try to bag up a parts. So if we did some parts of the brake, the wheel, fuel tank parts, in this case these are going to be the gas cap parts. There's 6 or 8 little screws, there's pins. It's just handy to have it in separate bags. You buy a box of the sandwich bags for $2. In this case, I can backmask these a lot better so I don't get the gasket ruined or anything like that. And these parts have to be wire brushed. Now, if I remember right, because I did mine, this little piece was a pain in the ass to get off. To be honest, they're really a pain in the ass. No, I'm not going to even take this off. It's not necessary right now. And the lock isn't even in here, so I guess we don't have to worry about a locking gas cap. But what's nice is there's a couple of things. If you don't want to use this gas cap for 25 bucks, you can get one of those gold ones, gold anodized. We'll paint this one black just to so he has a nice shiny one. This part could be painted in a gold or a different color if you wanted to make it fancy, or a silver. All the little screws will get run on a wire brush so they're all nice and neat and clean. And these screws, by the way, the 5mm screws, again, you could buy these they come from Hong Kong, and they were $3, I think, for 10 or 8 or whatever. It was cheap enough that I think I bought 100 of them, but I'm not sure. And by the way, the guy will only sell you, if I remember right, 5 or 6 packs of them at a time. I'm not sure what the hell that's all about. Maybe that's why they don't just get the way we do business. I don't know. Just show this. This is how quick these parts, the metal flows. Get over here. The metal cleans right up. Now granted, like I just said, there's a lot of little details go into this. This is just one of them. Polishing the bolt heads up. Even if you only use these screws until you can get some of those Chinese ones. Cleaning up the little parts that all go in here before you put them away. Then what happens is, and by the way, on those aluminum bolts, never use Loctite ever. No Loctite. You'll see why if you do. Anyway, we got this all scuffed up. It's ready for first coat of primer. Now, there's several choices. Of course, we could have polished this. We could have painted one gold and one black. I just think for this bike, the appropriate choice, and again, it's the period correct choice, is to do it all in black. Now, I had originally thought this was going to be a little bit different day, but we had a lot of other things to do today. Just didn't work out the way I wanted to. And so I'm going to end this there. I'm going to try to get the black paint on this, but I thought we'd get a lot more done. We'll get a fresh start on this tomorrow. You know, once we get a couple of coats of clear on that, I think it's really going to look nice. Again, it's all these small little details, but sometimes it just escapes you where that detailing is. See, your eye is a funny thing. You can fool your eye. That's why magic works. You just, sometimes you don't know why it looks good or why it doesn't look good, but you know it doesn't. And every time you add a little detail, it just gives your eye more things to be drawn to. This is a big thing for Karen and I. It's our first flower of 2016. Not a big deal to anybody else. Usually we mark it with the first flower. This is really our springtime, and we're going to spend the rest of the day working on the yard. Now, just a little bonus tonight. I didn't expect. We were going to go to dinner with two of our friends who couldn't make it tonight, so I took advantage of the fact I had an extra hour of time here at the end of the day. Got a coat of clear on this. Now, the advantage of that'll be, it'll just be a lot nicer positioning the decals. I can sand that clear, get it nice and smooth, get the decals. And again, I don't know when Mark is coming. I checked out. This tank is ready for the backmasking probably tomorrow. And I looked at how these, if you just knew a few hours ago, these were rusted hulks. Probably you couldn't get $5 for them on eBay. Now you can get 3. And we didn't waste any time today. It's an amazing day. Now this morning I'm just checking the parts that had these dried up. These are going to be nice. Nice little upgrade for Glenn. The screws are polished. That's all ready to put back together whenever we finish up the tank. But now, speaking of the tank, today it looks like a cold but a sunny day. I thought I'd try to lay out the trim on this, get some idea of how I want to trim this. I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. And of course, we're not copying anything like we are on Mark, so we got a freehand to do some freehand work here. Now, I tried to start this process off. What I'm going to try to do is, at least as of here, do this in a minimum of backmasking. This part will be white, and we can put the word Kawasaki or Glen HANSEN or whatever in here. And then I'm allowing an extra 1/8 of an inch, because when I pull this back, this will be my blue stripe around the edge here. And I'm just looking at it from a lot of different ways. I was trying to get some way to pick up that shape of the tank there and make it in keeping kind of well, similar to the other Larry Dettori, the bike project that we have. So they'll kind of have, if we can carry this off, this will have a very similar flavor, I think, when we park them together. Now this is the part that gets tricky. I'm working off where I know the center line is. And I want to measure out to this, out to here, and of course I had to do this on my bike too, and then get this dimension and this dimension, hopefully, so when you sit on the bike, the stripe looks not relative, it looks really symmetrical. But this takes a lot of tape going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I think eventually we're going to get this to where I'm going to put it on the floor, stand back, and I'll be happy with it. Now for sure the easiest thing to get wrong when you're doing this, and I've taken a lot of little measurements at this, to have this center line, I worked it all off a piece of center line tape, so that when you're sitting on a motorcycle, you don't see one stripe up, one stripe down, or any combination of up, down, sideways, sideways. And I always find the best way to envision that, just put the thing right on the floor. Because you'd be sitting on it this way, looking at it this way, and see, it looks real easy when it's done, but this is one of the things, a tank this shape you really can't just put a stripe from side to side. You've got to really think this through, and it can't come to a point in the back. I found that out. I laid out the tape on my bike several different ways. This is similar to my bike too, my Kawasaki bed. If you make this come to a point, it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't have the that period look where everything was big chunks. And the thing with this is, if you get it, I had thought of several other things. I was going to make a stripe along here. It just didn't have that correct look. I was going to put the stripe down the middle, but the problem would have been the stripe down the middle would have been the exact opposite of the seat. I'm not sure that wouldn't have looked like something not in keeping with this Kawasaki race team. Anyway, this is it. I've shown this trick a million times already, but for somebody who might not have seen it, and it's a good one. When you lay out your tin foil, since we're only going to backmat, actually we could just put tape in there if we wanted to, but then I wouldn't be able to show this too. And it looks like as of today we have over 200 subscribers, so I'm kind of thinking the feedback I've gotten so far is a lot of people have enjoyed this for whatever reason. Whether they're going to actually do it or just would like to see how to do it. So maybe in the future it would inspire them to do it. It's going to be a little rickety there. Okay, but the whole thing is to lay out one edge, doesn't matter which edge. Now press this down, and what happens is that 1/8 inch tape picks up in there and gives you kind of a line to cut your tape on. So let me just show it. Maybe I should show it. Maybe I should show it. All these Steven Spielberg things. You see how it picks up in a tape? It picks up an exact line, because where it's picking the line up from, right here, is from the tape underneath. So it leaves an impression in the tin foil. If you're doing this with Playboy magazine paper, it wouldn't do that. Now, one of the downsides of using aluminum foil, if you grab this with your hand right here, sometimes it leaves a little impression in the white, which doesn't have any clear on it yet, which you can usually take off with some 2500 sandpaper very conveniently. But so that was one of the things that I just wanted to, the reason I pass it on in videos over and over, because obviously when somebody's new to our channel, they don't go back and look at every old video out there. And a lot of these tips, even if they're on, and let's face it, you can always use the delete button. So now it allows me to use that for my pattern. Cut this nice and neat. The idea is to get the minimum amount of tape touching the paint. It leaves the minimum amount of residue that way. It gives you a lot of advantages in terms of if you were trying to do this the day you painted the white, which we're not, it would ensure that you wouldn't be pulling up any paint. Even though they tell you this paint we use is 2 hour to tape time, it isn't under some conditions, and the conditions it isn't under is working in the shop right now. So I can bend that down to meet the contour of the tank. Still pretty nice. I don't want to press any more than I have to, because I'll just have to take the stain off. Get it. And by the way, time for Glenn to buy some tape, or somebody. Alright. And this can go up here. And I think you see how nice and neat that puts the minimum amount of, absolute minimum amount of tape residue onto a nice fresh white paint. And of course white would be the absolute worst color. You'll see everything on white. If we were painting this black, you really wouldn't have to be so concerned. Now we just got to put this little piece in. I guess we got to run to Lowe's and get some tape here pretty soon. But anyway, it's always these little tricks, and this happens to be one of them. And when I used to help guys with the model plane paint jobs here, backmasking always seemed to be something people made more difficult than it had to be. Doesn't really have, well, sometimes it's a pain in the butt too. But in this case, We're trying to keep this period correct. We're trying to keep it simple, trying to keep it something that once we put all the decals on and stickers and everything, it's going to look like we're back in this era. And once I flip the other side, we'll be ready to spray some green.
First.
It's going to be a little tricky jigging this up on here, I can see that. Because we do want to get the bottom. I'm not sure you can see in the video what a nice bright color this really is. It covers well. I think Glenn's going to get away with not even having to buy more paint. All right, we got all 3 coats of green on there. We have paint left over. It's amazing that we do. It's amazing how well that paint covered. That the whole bike is less than a pint of paint. That's mind-boggling. I don't think it'll be long now, and this will be spring will be in the air. Oh, that's gonna look nice. That is definitely going to look nice. Now, but the real challenge we face is going to be to clean up some of this loose work that we have to do. The riding season is going to be upon us soon. And I have some work I want to do on my bikes, getting them ready, some tire changes, some oil changes. The things we get ready, I want to get the whole fleet. Sounds like I'm selling rent-a-cars. Get the whole fleet ready because I think the summer coming up is just going to be the best ever. And I hope you're really enjoying all these videos. It's been fun making them, and thanks for watching.